Guys, the real question is, are you a hero or are you the villain? River Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. All right, let's talk about heroes and villains and why, if you're not aware of which one you are at any point in time, you are going to probably lose the game of life at the level that you want to be playing at, or you're fake as fuck. So, Carl Jung wrote about the shadow. Now, there's all these people out there talking about shadow work. Most of them have never studied anything and they're morons, and they've just heard some shit from some other person who's talking shit, who heard it from another person talking shit, and they just keep passing on shit. If you go back and you read the proper work about Carl Jung and he talks about the shadow, you'll hear terms, especially when you read old philosophies, and they talk about things like the upright person casts no shadow. And you'll hear about uprightness. You'll hear it in the Bible and places like that as well. The term uprightness means a person who stands upright, which means that they're not leaning to one side. When you lean to one side, you start to cast a shadow. Now, when someone tries to be kind to everybody, they are casting a shadow of their asshole, right? And what I mean by that is not the thing that they crap out of. I mean that they are hiding their asshole self. They are hiding the person that is aggressive. They are hiding the person that has accountabilities. They are hiding that person, so that becomes their shadow. This is why I love the things like the yin and yang principle, because the yin and yang principle says that you can't show or demonstrate your light without also showing and demonstrating your darkness. Now, what happens is there's something called a personality and a persona. A persona is the mask that you wear. Now, when you're consistently wearing a mask, you'll convince other people that you're a certain way, and you lack your own self-awareness on the shit that you keep inside or internally. This will fuck up your mental health. And most people who have fucked up mental health have a massive shadow and a huge mask that they wear. Now, this isn't everybody with mental health problems, but it's pretty fucking common. People who try to be kind to everybody are normally assholes to themselves. And they're assholes to themselves because they lack accountability, they lack strength, they lack courage, they lack aggression in order to tell people what they need. They're sloppy. And I said this recently at my Thrive Time event, and everybody in that room, when I said, who in here is a kind person, they all put up their hand. And I was like, right, not to yourself. And you watch their eyes almost collapse in the back of their skull because they're like, oh shit, he's right. Because I know that they hide their shadow. What people express also shows you what they suppress. You can tell when you've been working in human behavior long enough. I can read people like a fucking glove. What I love though is that great leadership is ownership of both the hero and the villain trait. And so what I mean by that is that there is a balance between a person in their upright self, which means that they have both their light and their darkness on display most of the time. So the cool thing is I'm going to talk about some of the things that have happened lately just in the news and in the media. So Gina Reinhart, who is the richest person in Australia, sponsors the netball side. Now this is what I read in the media and based on media accounts. And normally I say that the media is full of shit, so they're probably full of shit here too. But I want to use it as an example. Gina Reinhart gives a whole bunch of money and sponsorship, millions of dollars to Netball Australia. I think it was like $14 million. Then because she's in mining and prospecting, her dad said something that was considered racist 60 years ago. So supposedly one of the netball players says, well, I think that, we shouldn't have to wear their logo in the game because of the racism and blah, blah. And Gina Reinhart's going, hang on, that's got nothing to do with me. I'm giving you $14 million. Either wear my fucking logo, or if you don't, then I'll just pull the sponsorship. And so all the team players stood by the player who was offended by it. Again, just the virtual signaling bullshit that happens in our society because most people are fucking weak and they need groups of people to stand up for themselves. And so anyway, Gina Reinhart goes, well, I'm just going to pull the funding from Netball Australia. Now, because of that, almost Netball Australia has gone broke. So at the time, Gina Reinhart was considered this bad person, this evil person. Now, she had half of Australia as supporters and the other half as challengers. Now, this is important because I'm going to talk to you about leadership and the reason why most people cannot handle leadership and the reason why most people never be good leaders and the reason why most people never achieve anything. So these are some important factors in human behavior that most people will never understand, including most people who teach human behavior, which sucks, right? In that moment, she's displaying both her kindness and also her villain, so her hero and her villain. She's tried to save Netball Australia. They don't want to play by her rules, so she goes, fuck it, and she becomes the villain. Then anyway, so she gets criticized in the media. Then she goes out and she then starts to pull together because the Commonwealth Games are in disarray here in Australia. I know that we have a heap of listeners overseas, But the Commonwealth Games are essentially like the Olympic Games, but just for the Commonwealth, a little bit smaller than the Olympic Games and so on. There's all these problems with the Commonwealth Games. Gina Reinhart says, well, why don't we host half in Perth, half over there? I'm happy to put up some cash. I'm happy to do some stuff. And so she uses the money for other things. Now, all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of Australians that are like, wow, she's saving the Com Games. Then I just read a thing where she bought a massive station, which essentially is a massive parcel of land here in Australia, which is part of an iconic TV series or TV show. And she bought it because she wants to keep it in Australian hands. Again, she's displaying her hero. But also she's in mining. So in mining, some people see that as being, destroying the environment. At the same time, she's being a hero and she's being a villain, right? Because it depends on the perception of the individuals judging her. But what she's doing is she's being as balanced as she can be to get the results that she wants within her own life and what's important to her. Now, what can we learn from that? That in life, if you want to achieve great things, you have to be okay with being the hero and the villain. Now, it's not whether you're the hero or whether you're the villain. It's saying that when you are balanced and you're doing the things that you love to do in life, you have to be both. Because if you are more of the villain, then it might be a compensation for you suppressing stuff in your own life. Like if you think about this, the parent that is the villain that tells off the child is doing so because either the other parent is too complacent and wants to be seen as the hero, and so the villain has to come in and take control of the situation because the other parent is too soft and too weak to create accountabilities for the child. The other thing that happens is that in that family dynamic, if the villain isn't there, then the child may be unsafe. So good parenting is a balance of both the hero and the villain. The kids need to look up to the hero and they need to go, I love my mum or my dad because of these reasons. But at the same time, they also scare me sometimes because they tell me off or they tell me not to do things. But if the parent's doing that correctly, they're doing it because they care about the child. And the parent is doing the best that they can with what they have, and they have an intention for it, a clear intention. That is everybody. So let's go to another example. Elon Musk. He's at the New York Times, I believe, conference. There's a whole bunch of business leaders, all in Fortune 500 companies and so on. Apparently, Bob Iger is sitting in the crowd, who is part of Disney. Elon Musk is up on stage and they're talking about Twitter. And he said that the interviewer asked the question. Now, you can go and watch this, but I just want to give a quick example of it. I don't want to go through the exact things that he said. I don't even know if I'll get this 100% correct. But they said, all these companies like Disney and all that stuff are pulling their marketing off of Twitter. And Elon Musk said, do you think that I can be held ransom by money? Which is a good point. What these big businesses are doing are they are trying to get Elon Musk to change how he behaves and change what he wants in life to suit them for money, which essentially is a ransom. And Elon Musk is smarter than those other business owners. And he said, I think Bob's sitting in the crowd. Well, they can go fuck themselves. And he said exactly that in front of all these top executives, all of that. Not many people do that. I watch LinkedIn every day. Every day I get on LinkedIn and there's a whole bunch of virtual signaling motherfuckers that are all trying to say the right things. They've got their pronouns next to their name because they just want to feel inclusive. They talk about being positive in the work environment and making sure that everyone gets along and everyone's in peace. Those same fucking morons are the same people who will never get what they want in life because they're people pleasers. They have no standards. Their standards are the standards of the crowd that they hang out with. That is it. That's not good leadership. That's not good business ownership. Those people will get sunk by the business owners who come up there and do what they need to do to get the job done, who have a vision, who have a mission, and they allow that to make their decision. When Elon Musk wants to put people on Mars, he didn't let NASA stop him. He didn't let the US government stop him. He went out there and he did whatever he had to do in order to get that job done. Now, some people saw him as being the hero. Some people saw him as being the villain, but he'll still go down as one of the greatest entrepreneurs in history, no matter what happens. Right? And this is the reason why he's the richest person on the planet. Because he keeps making decisions knowing that he is doing the right thing for his cause, for his mission, for his vision. Now, there are going to be a lot of people who don't agree with that. There's going to be a lot of people who agree with that. Some people are going to see Elon Musk as the hero. Some people are going to see him as the villain. Either way, he doesn't care because he knows that he's both. Now, if you're listening to this, if you're always trying to be the hero, you're weak as piss. You're getting walked over. If you're a hero to your kids and you have no discipline and you don't discipline them and you don't have part of the villain there and you don't tell them off, they're walking all over you. If you're the hero in your own business and you go in there and you're people pleasing all the time, You're the hero, but you're going to be the villain inside your own mind because you're going to hate yourself when you don't get the standards and the results that you want. And you're probably going to be one of those pricks that when I'm out driving my car or when I'm living a great life, those people who comment on my shit, they're like, oh, fuck this guy, fuck him. Yeah, because you disappoint yourself all the time because you can't handle the pressure of creating accountabilities, of creating responsibility, of holding people accountable to shit, of having people not like you. That's their opinion. That's not yours. You have to know you're both a hero and a villain. I tell people in coaching, when someone signs up with me for coaching, I'm like, I'm the asshole that you need. Because if I'm not the asshole that you need, I'm not a real coach. Coaches that want to be nice to everybody are fucking shit coaches. The world's full of them. Full of them. This is why I get to work with rich listers. I get business owners that pay me ridiculous amounts of money, or not ridiculous, it's what my value is, who give me ownership or partnerships in their companies. Right? People who want results are prepared to drop the cash and they want to work with me because they know that they need the accountability. They need someone who's going to tell them the truth. Most people don't tell people the truth. Most people don't even tell them their own truth. They don't even know their own fucking truth. They're sitting there going, oh, I just want everyone to be nice. I want everyone to get along. And because of that, they drop their own standards. They have no fucking standards. They're losers. And that's why they can never win. Go and study any person who has done something great. Go and watch Michael Jordan in The Last Dance. The players thought that he was both a hero and a villain. They were like, yeah, he held standards. He pushed us. Sometimes he broke us. Sometimes he could not give a shit about anyone else. He wanted to win the game, but he's the greatest player in history. You go and listen to a lot of the people who played in his team who won championships, and they said, if it wasn't for Michael, we wouldn't have won those championships. I would not have been part of that team. He was both a hero and a villain at the same time. But all he focused on was what was important to him in life, and he knew that he was both. If he wanted to people please and be nice to everybody, he never would have gone down as a great. And there are so many people out in our world that are like, well, you know, I just want to be a nice person. I want to be considered a good person. Who to, motherfucker? Who to? Not you. You don't even like yourself. You want everybody else's praise. That's why. That's why you want everybody else to like you, because you fucking hate yourself. You drop your own shitty standards, and because of that, you want everybody else to like you. That's how those people operate. All the people that are all kind and nice to everybody all the time, and they want to be seen as a good person, they do that shit because everybody else's opinion is more important than their own opinion of themselves and their own goals and their own mission and all of that sort of shit. It's fucking pathetic. And anyone who has half a fucking brain knows that shit and they can see through it. It's the other morons that don't have a fucking brain and can't think for themselves. They're like, oh, they're a nice person. I want to be a nice person too. Oh, that's okay. I'll do everything for you. But you need to do everything for me too, because I can't do shit for myself. And that's how they all fucking operate. My grandmother used to be exactly like that. She was always looking after everybody else. And when anybody else said no to her, she's like, oh, but I do everything for you and no one looks after me and no one cares about me. And, oh, fuck it, no one cares about me. Well, fuck you. Right. She used to use guilt all the time. I said to her, if you don't look after yourself, no one else is going to. It's not everybody else's job to look after you. You have to look after you first. Then you can look after others. One of the greatest principles that you'll ever be taught is the I, we, and all principle, which means if you cannot look after yourself, you cannot help people in your intimate circle. If you cannot help people in your intimate circle, you cannot change the world, nor can you do anything great, because you can't look after all the other people out there. All these fucking morons out there going out there trying to change the world when they can't even look after themselves and they can't even support the people close to them because they're too afraid of what everybody else thinks. Go and study all the great people who are doing anything great on the planet. Go look at all the top YouTubers. Go have a look at all the top people on TV. Ellen DeGeneres gets called out. She's a bitch. Okay, Oprah Winfrey's getting called out. You know, she's a hard ass. She fucking pushes people. She does all this nasty shit. No fucking shit. Do you think that she's an angel without being a devil? Come on, don't play that stupid shit. That's the whole yin yang philosophy. You've seen those cartoons where they have the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. That is the real game of life. It's the devil and the angel together. That's what creates a great individual. You have to control both of those two things. If the angel takes over, you'll be weak as piss and you'll live life at the expense of everybody else. At the other hand, if you're a prick and you're just always an asshole and you're doing it for no real purpose, then don't be surprised if you live a shitty life and no one cares about you because you're a fucking asshole. You have to manage those two things together. You have to do shit for the right reason, for the right people, and make sure that you're holding yourself accountable and you're controlling that devil and the kindness inside of your head. That's why people who always try to be kind to themselves, and they're like, oh, I'm just having a rest day. I'm just having a rest day. I'm just ordering food because, I'm a bit stressed out. They're the people who are always trying to be the angel, but that devil inside their head, they're going to look in the mirror and say, I fucking hate you. And that means you, as in the person you're looking at in the mirror. Those negative voices and all that negative self-talk comes down to you trying to be too nice to everybody all the time and letting shit slip because you won't hold yourself accountable and you won't be a prick to yourself. Right? I know I'm my worst enemy and I'm also my best friend. I don't really care what other people say because I know that the support comes from within and the challenge comes from within. I lower my own standards or I hold myself accountable to those standards. I'm both the devil and the angel. Right? Now, that also allows me to be a great leader because sometimes within my team, sometimes I need to be the devil a little bit with my team. I've got to be the villain. There are other times where I've got to be the hero. And so when someone does something good and they push themselves and they're breaking down, this happens quite a lot in my team. The team push hard and then they have a breakdown. I'm like, hey, dude, look, I got you. It's cool. I got you. What do you need? Do you need a day off? Oh, I'm here to help. Now I get to be the hero. Why? Because they push themselves. So when they were taking on more of the villain and they were pushing themselves, I got to be the hero and come into their lives. If you have hero around you, people will be complacent, lazy, they'll get away with shit. This is the world that we live in now, the fucking cotton wool kids, right? This is because most parents are lazy. They have low standards. They let their kids get away with shit. They haven't dealt with their own inner work and their own inner wounds from when they were growing up. And so they want to give everything to their kids. And so they don't want their kids to have any adversity because they think taking away the adversity is going to give their kids the best life. It's not. It's going to fuck up their life. It's fucking up their lives. Right? Kids have to have adversity to grow. We all need adversity to grow. Remember, growth happens through pressure and stress. Pressure causes expansion and stress causes growth. Go and study anything in nature. Stress creates growth. It forces growth. Pressure creates expansion. So if you're afraid of pressure and stress in your kids, in your staff, in the people around you, including yourself, you are not growing and you are not expanding as a person. You are going to hinder the people around you. That's why you have to do your own personal work. You have to get on top of this shit. Right? Because if you're not consistently taking on the pressure and supporting yourself and going, you know what, I crushed it today. I worked really, really hard. In fact, I've been awake since 6 o'clock this morning and it's 8:32 now and I'm still recording this podcast. Right? And I've eaten 400 calories today. 400. I got to go and make up 1,600 after this. Right? So I need to go eat a fucking feast. And I still have to hit my protein targets as well. But my point is that today I've been both my hero and my villain. I feel like a champion at the end of the day because I've been my own hero and I've been also my own villain going, dude, get this shit done. Get it done. Make sure it's done by the end of the day. It has to get done. Right? And that's the standard at which I live by. That's the standard that I hold staff to. That's the standard that I hold other people and clients to. Because of that, people around me keep winning. They're their best friends and their worst enemies. But at the same time, if they keep pushing themselves and they can handle that villain throughout the day, at the end of the day, they're going to be their greatest hero. You have to understand both the hero and villain is within you. The world that you see of heroes and villains, the people who are normally winning the game of life are both heroes and villains. A lot of the people that people support are the heroes all the time. But I guarantee you they're going to get caught out and they're going to get caught out as a fucking villain. Have a look at it. Ellen DeGeneres got busted and all of her staff came out, or a whole bunch of her staff, a whole bunch of people at restaurants and shit. Oh, she was an asshole. Yeah, of course she's an asshole. She has people around her all the time. She probably asked for a bunch of food. The food came out at shit quality. People want pictures from her all the time. She tells them to go away. Of course she's going to act like a prick. Because she's Ellen DeGeneres. She can't fucking go out anywhere with peace. Right? Assholes probably come up to her and want something from her for all the time. Of course she's got that dark side. Oprah Winfrey got busted. Dark side. Elon Musk. People think he's a fucking hero, but at the same time, he's also a villain. You can't have one without the other. Michael Jordan was both a hero and a villain. Every great sports player is both a hero and a villain, both to themselves and others because of the standard at which they operate by. And if they're driven by a mission and a greater purpose in life, they have to keep pushing that. I want you to think about that over the next 24 hours in your own life. How do you play those two cards? Who in here do you keep adapting your behavior for to be the hero? And you want people to see you as a nice person, but you're getting fucked by them. And if you're not fucked already, you're going to get fucked by them. Or who are the people that you're always an asshole to and you take your shit out on because you let people walk over you? And there are some people, like at work, if you're the hero and you come home, you'll be the villain. It has to come out somewhere. Either that, or you're both the hero and the villain at work and home, and the villain comes out inside your own mindset and you're mentally breaking down and you hate yourself for it. They're always there. That's the yin and yang philosophy. That's the whole theory of the angel and the devil on each shoulder, right? You'll see these principles being used throughout history, throughout the greatest philosophers and the great thinkers. You have to have both. Remember, an upright person casts no shadow. A person who demonstrates one side of themselves, who is always kind and always nice, displays a big shadow. The bigger the lean, the bigger the fucking shadow. That's why I hate going into corporate businesses most of the time and doing work, because the majority of dipshits that go there sit there and they're all like, oh, everyone gets along and everyone should be kind. And they're all pulling their words and pulling their punches and they can't say anything that, you know, could be deemed as inappropriate or offensive, or they can't say anything that they want to. They have to be yes or no, sir. Yes, I like this. No, I don't like that. And they can't say anything. But at the same time, they're all mentally destructive and breaking down and alcoholics and taking drugs and fucking fat and overweight, because that darkness shit has to come out somewhere. Anyway, I hope this episode really helps. Send me a message, DM me on any of my socials, and let me know if this message just hit home hard. I would love to hear from you. Remember, sharing's caring. Share this episode. Get on your socials. Share this shit out. The more we get this out to more people, the more this stuff's going to help. Keep thriving, driven mofos. Keep crushing it. Can't wait to see you on the next episode. Take care. Have a great day. Keep those standards high. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.